The cold silence of space stretched endlessly beyond the viewport, fractured only by the distant flicker of dying stars. On board the battered freighter Artemis, the last human alive stared out at the void, his eyes reflecting the cosmic darkness that had swallowed his species whole. His name was Kellen Reese, a relic from a long-forgotten war, a ghost in a universe that had moved on without him. Around him, the ship hummed quietly, engines thrumming against the stillness. It was a fragile sanctuary, one that would not last much longer. He wasn't alone in being hunted. The Galactic Coalition, an alliance of alien civilizations that had once fought alongside humanity, had turned against them. The war had ended decades ago, but the scars remained. And with the humans declared extinct, they had one last target: the myth of a surviving man, a living symbol of a threat they refused to forget. Kellen's grip tightened on the chipped metal railing as the Artemis dropped out of hyperspace near the asteroid belt of the Auriga system. His eyes scanned the swirling debris, searching for a safe harbor. It was a risky stop. Mining colonies here had once been bustling outposts, but now lay abandoned, remnants of civilizations long erased by time. His comm crackled softly, a low hiss that almost went unnoticed. Kellen froze, every muscle taut. Someone was trying to reach him. "Code 975, whispered the voice, distorted and cautious. "They're coming," he cursed under his breath. No time to hide. Kellen leapt into the cramped cockpit, fingers flying over the controls. The Artemis shuddered, ejecting a small scout drone into the asteroid field. "Visual," Kellen murmured. On the holo display, blips appeared, fast, precise. Coalition ships. He had expected this. Always expected it. For years, Kellen had lived in the shadows, moving between forgotten worlds, scavenging relics of a dead civilization, trying to unravel the secrets humanity left behind. But this time was different. This time, he had found something. Earlier that day, in the ruins of an abandoned mining facility, buried beneath layers of dust and rock, Kellen had unearthed a small, unassuming device. No bigger than his fist, it hummed faintly with an energy that felt alien but familiar. It was a key to what he didn't know yet, but he sensed it was the last piece in a puzzle centuries old. And now the Coalition knew he had it. The first ship decloaked, a sleek, sinister silhouette against the asteroid belt, its weapons trained like vultures. Kellen's heart pounded as he maneuvered the Artemis into a narrow crevice, hoping the dense rock would mask his presence. "Evasive maneuvers," he muttered. The chase was on. Behind the safety of the asteroid, the freighter's thrusters flared, kicking up clouds of dust and debris. Coalition fighters swarmed, but Kellen was a master of survival. Years of running, hiding, fighting had honed his instincts to razor sharpness. Yet the weight of being the last human pressed on him. The knowledge that if he fell, the last flicker of humanity's light would be snuffed out forever. Minutes stretched like hours as he darted through the asteroid field, weaving between giant rocks and crumbling remnants of ancient stations. The Coalition ships fired plasma bursts that sizzled through the void, narrowly missing their target. Then disaster. A sudden explosion rocked the Artemis. Alarms blared as systems flickered and the ship lurched violently. Kellen slammed himself against the controls, fighting to stabilize the freighter. Come on, he hissed. The ship limped toward a small cavern hidden beneath a colossal asteroid. Kellen aimed for it, praying the narrow entrance would shield him. With a deafening crunch, the Artemis scraped against the cavern walls, sparks flying. Inside, darkness swallowed the ship, broken only by the flickering emergency lights. Kellen's breath came ragged. He was trapped, but alive. He reached for the device in his pocket, feeling its faint pulse. It was no ordinary piece of tech. It held the promise of a future, or the final weapon that could make his enemies regret everything. Outside, the silence returned, but Kellen knew it wouldn't last. Somewhere beyond the shadows, the hunt would begin again. And this time, he would be ready. The cavern's oppressive darkness pressed in from all sides, but Kellen's fingers moved steadily, guided by a memory he had buried long ago. He retrieved the device from his pocket, cradling it like a fragile relic of a world lost to time. The soft hum pulsed in rhythm with his own heartbeat, a steady reminder that this was more than a trinket. It was humanity's last secret. His breath echoed in the confined space as he activated the artifact. Light spilled from its surface, crystalline patterns forming an intricate map that shimmered against the cavern walls. Star systems, coordinates, unknown symbols, a language long forgotten by the galaxy's current inhabitants. Kellen's mind raced. This wasn't just technology, it was a beacon, a key to a legacy hidden beneath the ashes of humanity's destruction. Outside, the faint crackle of coalition comm chatter pierced the silence, distant but growing closer. They were hunting, relentless and methodical. He had to move. The Artemis's damaged systems flickered to life, but it was clear the freighter wouldn't last long without repairs. Kellen needed to decipher the artifact's secrets quickly and find allies who understood what it meant. The galaxy remembered humans as reckless conquerors, warmongers who nearly destroyed everything. But no one knew the full story. Kellen recalled old transmissions he'd salvaged from Earth's lost archives. Stories of humans wielding technology so advanced it bordered on myth. Weapons that bent space itself. Machines that could alter reality. He was the last custodian of that knowledge. Leaving the cavern, Kellen piloted the Artemis toward a derelict space station rumored to have survived the purges. The station, known as Helix Reach, was a relic from the human era, now occupied by a patchwork of alien outcasts and scavengers. It was dangerous, but his only hope. As the Artemis drifted closer, a voice crackled through the comm, human signature detected. It said, flat and cold, "Prepare to be boarded." Kellen's pulse quickened. The Coalition's hunters had tracked him here. With a surge of adrenaline, he engaged emergency thrusters, skimming the station's outer hull. A squadron of alien fighters pursued him relentlessly, their weapons blazing. Inside the station's maze-like corridors, Kellen met his unexpected allies, a ragtag group of rebels who had once fought the Coalition's tyranny. Among them was Nira, a sharp-witted alien engineer with a cybernetic arm, and Vex, a former mercenary with a shadowy past. They listened in stunned silence as Kellen revealed the artifact. "This," he said, "is the last piece of the human puzzle. Hidden technology that could tip the scales of power." Nira's eyes sparkled with disbelief. "If that's true, the Coalition will tear the galaxy apart to get it." Vex nodded grimly. "You're not just a survivor, Kellen. You're a threat." The Coalition's forces tightened their grip outside the station, sending squads to flush out the rebels. A desperate plan formed quickly. Use the station's ancient databanks to unlock the artifact secrets, and then strike back. As they worked, fragments of the past emerged. Human civilizations had harnessed energies that defied alien physics. They had mastered quantum fields, weaponized dark matter, and engineered synthetic life forms that could evolve at will. Kellen's revelation rekindled hope among the rebels, and fear among their enemies. But the Coalition was ruthless. Infiltrators crept through the shadows, betraying their positions. The station shuddered under bombardment. With every passing second, Kellen knew the final battle loomed closer. The galaxy had written humans off as extinct, but he was about to prove them wrong. He was the last human alive, and he carried a legacy powerful enough to make them regret everything. The faint glow of Helix Reach's databanks cast long shadows on the walls as Kellen and his newfound allies worked tirelessly to unlock the secrets hidden within the artifact. The ancient technology, encoded in a language forgotten by all but a few, began to unravel before their eyes. Nira's cybernetic fingers danced across the interface, her voice tense but excited. "This is beyond anything I've ever seen. Human tech that manipulates space-time. If we can harness this, it could give us an edge the Coalition never anticipated." Vex stood guard by the entrance, eyes sharp and weapon ready. "We don't have long. Coalition reinforcements will swarm this station soon." Kellen's mind raced. Years of being hunted, running from death, had shaped him. But now the hunter was becoming the hunted. And this time, he wasn't alone. Word spread quietly through the fringe systems. Whispers of the last human alive sparked flickers of hope among alien dissidents, synthetic outcasts, and scattered human survivors who refused to fade into extinction. Together, they forged an alliance, unlikely and uneasy, but bound by a shared desire to resist the Coalition's iron grip. Their first move was a strike on a key Coalition communication hub. The goal was simple: disrupt the Coalition's network and broadcast proof that humans were not extinct. The raid was brutal. Through twisted corridors of steel and fire, Kellen led the charge, blending human ingenuity with alien technology. Plasma bolts tore through the air, alarms blared. The smell of burnt circuits filled the space. At the center of the hub, Kellen planted a device, a makeshift transmitter amplified by the artifact's power. "Time to remind the galaxy we're still here," he muttered. As the signal pulsed out into space, the Coalition scrambled to respond. Their forces converged on Helix Reach, determined to snuff out the rebellion before it could ignite. Back on the station, tension reached a breaking point. A trusted rebel turned traitor, leaking their position. Betrayed, Vex growled, scanning the monitors for signs of the enemy. "They're coming." Kellen's jaw tightened. "Then we give them a fight they won't forget." What followed was a desperate battle for survival. Coalition troops breached the station's defenses, corridors exploding in fire and chaos. Kellen and his allies fought with ferocity born of desperation. But the real battle was deeper, in the shadows of trust and betrayal. The traitor moved unseen, sabotaging efforts and feeding information. Kellen faced a grim truth. If the rebellion was to survive, he had to root out the traitor before their cause was lost. Amidst the chaos, the artifact pulsed stronger, as if sensing the rising conflict. Its power was awakening. In a final gambit, Kellen rallied the rebels for a bold escape, planning to use the artifact's technology to vanish from the Coalition's grasp. As the Artemis slipped through a collapsing wormhole, the galaxy outside burned with uncertainty. They were a spark in the dark, a rebellion born from ashes. And Kellen, the last human alive, was the flame that would ignite a revolution. The glow of distant star systems blurred past the Artemis's viewport as Kellen stared at the data streaming from the artifact. The rebellion had survived their narrow escape, but the cost weighed heavily on him. Lives lost, betrayals uncovered. The price of vengeance was steep. Nira sat beside him, her cybernetic arm twitching as she analyzed the latest transmissions. The Coalition's retaliation has been brutal. Entire colonies wiped out in reprisal. Kellen's jaw clenched. Collateral damage, innocent lives. "I didn't sign up for this." Vex paced the cramped cabin, grim-faced. "War never's clean, Kellen. But if we don't fight back, there won't be any innocence left." The crew's morale was fraying. The rebellion had sparked hope, but it had also unleashed a storm of destruction across the galaxy. Kellen wrestled with the bitter truth. Every victory brought new suffering. Worse, the traitor was still among them. Their sabotage had nearly doomed a critical mission to secure a weapon cache designed by human engineers long ago. The rebels were on edge, trust a fragile thread. Then came the ambush. While scouting a remote supply depot, Kellen and his team were surrounded by Coalition forces. Outnumbered and outgunned, they fought desperately. Explosions rocked the ground, smoke choking the air. Amidst the chaos, a flash of movement caught Kellen's eye, the traitor revealing themselves, firing on their own comrades. Betrayal struck deeper than any enemy bullet. Kellen's fury boiled over. But even as the traitor was captured, a part of him questioned how far vengeance should go. The rebellion was supposed to be their salvation, not a mirror of the destruction humanity once wrought. Back on the Artemis, the revelation of the traitor shook the fragile unity. Kellen faced his allies, their eyes searching for answers. "I won't let our fight become the thing we hate," he vowed. "We need to be better." But better was a luxury the war wouldn't allow. Intelligence from the artifact revealed the Coalition was preparing a new weapon, one that could obliterate entire star systems. A doomsday device buried deep within the capital planet of the Coalition's core. The stakes had never been higher. Kellen knew the only way to stop it was to lead a direct assault, a last stand that could cost everything. The crew prepared for the mission, their faces grim but determined. Hope, fear, and the weight of survival hung thick in the air. As the Artemis slipped toward the heart of the coalition, Kellen looked out into the blackness, the darkness that had taken everything from him, but also the canvas on which he would paint humanity's final chapter. He was the last human alive, and soon he would make them regret everything. The Artemis trembled as it broke through the coalition's outer defenses, plunging into the heart of their capital system. Kellen's fingers danced over the controls, every nerve sharp, every breath measured. Behind the viewport, the capital planet loomed like a colossus, its surface scarred by war and fortified beyond imagination. The coalition's doomsday weapon, the end of worlds, was buried deep beneath its crust. Kellen's crew moved with precision, a ragtag army bound by a cause far greater than themselves. The artifact thrummed in his pocket, a silent ally that pulsed with untapped power. "Prepare for orbital insertion," Kellen commanded, voice steady despite the chaos. Explosions erupted around them as coalition fleets swarmed. Plasma beams sliced through the void, each one a death sentence. The Artemis dodged and weaved, a desperate dance against annihilation. Inside the planet, the battle became more personal. Corridors echoed with gunfire, the clash of technology, and the cries of the fallen. Kellen's heart pounded as he led the assault team through labyrinthine tunnels, guided by the artifact's cryptic signals. Every step brought them closer to the weapon's core and closer to death. Then came the countdown. A cold voice echoed through the tunnels, the coalition's leader stepping forward, a towering alien general whose hatred for humanity burned brighter than any star. Kellen Reese, the general, sneered, "The last human. Your defiance ends here." Kellen met his gaze, unflinching. "You're wrong. It's just the beginning." A brutal duel erupted, steel clashing with alien tech, wills clashing with the weight of history. Kellen fought not just for survival, but for the legacy of a species written off as extinct. With a final surge, Kellen activated the artifact. Reality seemed to warp, a ripple in space-time that shattered the weapon's core, sending shock waves through the planet. The doomsday device faltered, its destruction imminent. The coalition's fleet faltered in orbit as the planet itself began to fracture. The Artemis seized the moment, escaping the collapsing world as the rebellion's signal blared across the stars. Victory was theirs, but at a cost. Kellen stood among the ruins, the last human alive, scarred but unbroken. The galaxy had tried to erase humanity. They had failed. The galaxy was silent once more. Kellen stood on the bridge of the Artemis, watching the shattered coalition capital planet break apart in the void. The rebellion signal pulsed through every star system, a message of defiance and survival. For the first time in decades, humanity's name echoed, not as a ghost, but as a beacon. Nira approached, her cybernetic arm glinting under the soft lights. The coalition's grip is broken. Systems are declaring independence. The galaxy is waking up. Vex leaned against the console, exhaustion etched on his face. It's only the beginning. Power vacuums always breed chaos. Kellen nodded, eyes distant but determined. We have a choice. Rebuild from the ashes or become the monsters they feared. The artifact's glow dimmed in his hand, its secrets spent but its legacy alive. He had been the last human alive, a symbol of extinction, a hunted relic. Now he was a leader, a spark that could ignite a new era. As messages from scattered human enclaves reached the Artemis, Kellen understood the weight of responsibility. Humanity's survival was no longer just about one man. It was about rekindling hope, forging alliances, and rewriting their place among the stars. And somewhere deep in the silence, he knew the galaxy had changed forever. Because the last human alive had made them regret everything. But regret was only the beginning. The future, uncertain, wild, and full of promise, awaited. Kellen turned to his crew, a quiet smile breaking through the weariness. Let's go home.